Good afternoon and welcome to the Leadership Business Podcast with me. Hey, I'm Ryan, and thank you for taking the time to come and hang out with me today. Listen, I've got a very special guest with me today, dear friend, family member, and still on Facebook to a certain extent, noted as my son. He's got a couple Facebook accounts. One of them is my son. We've got JR Bareis with us today, and just a special shout out to Meade County Christian School and Journey Church, who's going to be doing an awesome service this Sunday with you here. So, hey, yeah. JR!
Hello!
Thank you. Hey, thank you for one flying in. You flew. Yeah. I mean, you flew in from Arizona.
Yep.
To be here,
yep.
And so thanks for that, man. So, hey, tell me just a little bit, like, how are things? And this is actually your music.
Yeah.
We're gonna pause just for a second. There it is. We're doing that. You wrote. It's good stuff. Like I was just saying just before we were getting going here. Phenomenal. I mean, that record is so okay. Before we even dive into this a little bit, where can we find that record? So that you are lead guitarist for many bands. You've been all over the world. You've been on the biggest stages. You have filled in for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Grammy Award winner, band Korn. Right? Where can I find Spoken, the band that you're driving right now? Where can I find Spoken's album? Just like. I'm just shopping around.
Anywhere you can think of, probably. Yeah, Apple Music, Spotify. If LimeWire is still around, it's probably on there somewhere.
Man.
You know,
isn't that crazy? All of the music industry things that have like come up and gone away. Like I remember Napster. I remember Napster coming in, and Metallica started filing lawsuits because like the idea of like all this music being free, and even though Napster lost in court, you know You think about it, like they won in theory, even though they had to pay back millions of dollars. Okay, so you flew out of Arizona. Hey, tell us a little bit about like who you're playing with, what you're doing. Just give us like a recap of like what you're doing, and then like let's go back to the beginning of where this all started a little bit. So walk us through life a little bit. Yeah.
So currently I'm playing with a band called Spoken. They have been around since. Gosh, I think 97, 96, 98, somewhere in there. And I was like 2 or 3 years old at the time. So I didn't start the band. But
when I was 3, I started a rock and roll band. And it's awesome.
Like, let's go. No. But I actually grew up listening to them a little bit, which is kind of crazy. And then, so I met the singer. His name's Matt, and he's the only one left that's in the band, like since the beginning. But I met him back in 2011. It was on one of my first tours, and they were out with us on a tour.
You were playing at the time with...
I was playing with Brian Head Welch.
From Korn.
Yeah.
Did the band Love and Death.
Yep.
Right?
And yeah, so Spoken was on one of the tours, and so I met him there. Fast forward to like 2014, I filled in for Spoken for a tour.
That's awesome.
And then... Fast forward to 2017 is when I started playing full time with them up until now. So 17? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Has it been that long?
I know. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why I didn't put that together a little bit. Wow. Yeah. I guess one of the reasons is that you have just played on some of the biggest stages out there. I mean, I remember I know you'd filled in for Korn a couple of times, but I remember getting the first glimpse of what maybe you were experiencing. We were in Chicago, and you were guitar teching for Brian. Yeah. And I believe that night was like 15 to 20,000 people. And that was like the first time I've seen like on stage, like from that perspective. Yeah. Where are some of the wildest places you have traveled with anybody? Like tell us like a little bit about where you have been, like what you've seen. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been all over pretty much. I've played in many countries, and probably one of the craziest ones I did, I was filling in for Brian. Incredible. With Korn, and they were playing overseas, Rock in Rio, but it wasn't the one in Rio. They had the same festival in another country. Because Rio is huge. That's crazy stuff out there. It was over, I think it was in Lisbon, Portugal. Yes. I think it's where it was. I remember that. And flew over there just to do the one show. They flew me out for just one show. That's crazy. And we got there a couple days early, so I was just like,
sitting in the hotel for a couple of days, just losing my mind, but it was very nice though. So, but
nothing bad with it. It's just like big deal stuff.
But I remember we did a day of rehearsal just to kind of make sure everyone was good. And,
right.
And then we showed up to the festival. And so, what's funny is we weren't even headlining. You would think Korn would be headlining.
Really?
But who was headlining was a band called Hollywood Vampires.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Which has like Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper and stuff like that. So they were, I think it was because, with that kind of star power, they were like going to headline that night.
That's nuts.
But anyways, so I just remember being side stage, getting ready to go up and kind of looking out there. And it was just like, I couldn't see the end.
You couldn't see the end of it.
It's just like sea. I think there was maybe close to 90 to 100,000. And it was just like, what in the world? Like my heart was like...
My heart is pounding just thinking about something that happened all that time ago through you, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, those are big shoes to fill, So I was just like, I mean, this is a big deal, So
because you filled in for Brian and you've also filled in for Monkey.
Yeah,
is that right? Okay. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot, especially with their ages. I mean, you're 29 and you were playing these shows at what age?
So that was in 2016. So I was 21. And that show specifically.
And you started playing with Brian when was it
15?
15 years old? Okay. So let's go all the way back to the beginning, right? Just for the sake of like context and a little bit of content. Tristan and I, wife, right? We were youth pastoring in Arizona, right? It was our first youth pastor. It was our first job ever, like career thing. And we had maybe been there, like a year? Maybe like a year and a half. And you rolled in and I just remember you came in one day and you just said something like, hey, like, do you guys have a band? And I said, like, do you play? And one way or another, maybe I have it just a little bit backwards, but like you ended up coming in and doing like a Switchfoot song.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first songs. And I was like, holy smokes. I was like, okay. I was like, because everybody walks in and says like, I can sing, I can sing, I can play, I can drum. Everybody drums, everybody sings. But when it comes to like legitimately like getting up there and doing that, you ended up playing. It was like, what was that real famous one? What was the one big one that they're really known?
Meant to Live,
right?
Yeah,
you played that, and then that was kind of the beginning of. I don't know how many years. How many was that?
It felt way longer, but I think it was only like 3.
Was it?
2 or 3.
How old were you when you walked in?
I remember it was 2008, 8th grade. So I think I was 12.
We had maybe been there because I graduated college in 07.
Yeah.
So I had just.
I was 13. Yeah, 2008. I was 13.
21 or 22.
No. I
feel like you were younger. You were 11 or 12.
Yeah, maybe I was 12. I don't know. I can't do math.
Sometime there was this awesome moment. And then that was kind of that. So we were getting our first youth thing going on. You were coming in to teenage years. I met your dad. I met your mom. I even met, your brother. Didn't see a lot of him, but I got to know your parents real well. And then like your dad started like volunteering in the youth department and your mom was like serving as a youth leader and we got lockers and they'll have their names on it. Like we were just trying to like our hand. And then that just started like the beginning of something. And that's wild that like as a preteen and a 20, something year old, I'm 40 now.
Gosh.
And you're going to be 30 next month.
I'll be 30,
30 in March.
30 in March
next year. Yeah. Because we were talking about that earlier.
Crazy.
That's a long time. Okay. So we ended up transitioning out, right? Like 3-something years later, we transitioned out. We're heading to Chicago. But during that time, what band was taking auditions for their lead guitarist that you posted a video of yourself? Take us through the process on how you ended up meeting Brian and getting involved in his world.
Yeah. So, you said you took off. I think it was around 2010, and I stuck around in the youth, and I me and some other people were doing worship and stuff. And then fast forward to 2011, I believe it was like February that year. And I had just started doing online school.
Yes.
Because I was going to Skyline, if you remember, for like one semester.
You went to public for one semester?
One semester. I hated it.
I forgot that. Yes, but I remember the online thing.
Yeah. And I talked to my parents, like, could I just do online school? And then I'd have more time to like focus on music, and they were like, yeah, totally. So I switched to that, and right around that time, there's a band called 1,000 Foot Crutch.
1,000 Foot Crutch, that's
which,
right.
They were taking auditions on YouTube for a new guitarist. And at the time, I had a YouTube just with like guitar covers for fun, like Pillar and Fireflight, all that stuff. And so I was like, I'll do the video, and I wasn't even thinking I would get it. I was just more like, I'll just do it to get some people subscribe to my channel.
Do you remember what you were covering? I mean, I know that's like a long time. Do you remember what you covered?
It was their song "Welcome to the Masquerade."
That's a good album.
That was the song.
We were in Chicago because we did an entire youth series just off that album cover. I can still, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Wow, that's what we were both doing at the same time. Okay. Yeah. So there you are. You're covering that.
So did it, posted it, and it was one of the ones that got more views, which was cool, but
because it was good and it was accurate, right?
I did my best, But so I posted it, and someone that I was friends with on Facebook had shared it, and she was friends with the tour manager of Brian Head Welch on Facebook
because he had just left, or he was leaving Korn.
Yeah, at that point he had left like 6 years
already.
Since then, yeah, because he had left Korn in like 2005.
Wow. Okay.
And so this was 2011, so yeah, about 6 years.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, he had his own solo project at the time, and right around when I posted that video, he was also looking for a guitar player for his band because his guitarist had stepped down because him and his wife just had a kid and stuff, and all that. So, long story short, kind of, their tour manager hit her up and asked like, "Hey, how could we get in contact with this guy?" And she pointed him to this other guy that I did music with in town, with that Twice as Deep band.
Yes,
I did, like, it was more like a ministry outreach kind of thing.
That was like a
his
I
name
remember
is
that.
Jeremiah. Yeah. But she pointed him to Jeremiah, and then I remember getting a text at like 6 a.m. and just from him like, "Hey, there's this guy that says he tour manages Brian Head Welch. He's trying to get in contact with you. I don't know." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I just went back to bed. I was like,
no,
and then, so later that day I had a Facebook message from him.
That's nuts.
His name is Justin. And he was like, "Hey, saw your video, would like to talk to you more about blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Is this real, or is this guy just like a fan, like wanting to meet?" Like, I didn't know. And I, talking to my parents about it, they're like, "I guess just call him.
See what's up."
Yeah. So called him, and he explained the situation. They needed a guitar player. They had a tour coming up in like a week and a half.
I remember they were crunched for time.
Yeah. Didn't know if I could learn a couple songs, send him some videos, just to make sure I could do it. And I was like, "That's cool." I was like, "I just got to ask my parents." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, I'm 15.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, we thought you were maybe like 20 or 21 from the video." And so at first, management was kind of
a little leery
of bringing out an underage kid on the road. But what was cool is, like, I talked to Brian multiple times. He talked with my family and stuff, and he really wanted to make it work. And so what ended up happening was Brian and the tour manager both signed legal guardianship over me.
I remember that. Yeah.
So, like, until I was 18, they were technically my dad.
Your dad, right?
Legally on the road, yeah. But yeah, so I did a couple videos, sent it to them. They said great. And then, about a week later, I flew out to Nashville.
Right.
Did a couple rehearsals, and then was on the road.
I remember when Brian's first album came out. I think we were all still at youth and hearing that for the first time. And I think we were a little leery at first. We were just like, okay, this is a guy from Korn who's doing this new thing. He's claiming to know Jesus a little bit. You never want to pass judgment, but you're just like, is this real? Like, because, you're always looking for music to play at youth. That's great.
I remember when you showed me, we were in your car, and you're like, "Have you heard of Brian?" And I didn't really know who he was. And you showed me one of the songs, and I still remember it was the song "Rebel."
Dude,
and
that's one of the scariest songs
the kids
I've ever
chanting. And I remember like, "Oh, this is cool, sweet, awesome."
I grew up listening to Korn. Like Korn was just, like Freak on a Leash and all that came out while we were in high school. So we were just like, we were just jamming to it.
Yeah.
And then this is back when you would go to the Christian bookstore and they would have like the headphones where you could put it on and like, listen to the thing. And his was out there. And it was no offense to Brian. It was discounted, right? Because I think that people were they were getting on board with the fact that he actually can make music and that he does know Jesus. And so I remember picking that up. And
then I remember we went to a Hillsong concert.
We did at Phoenix First.
And I might still have it, but they were passing out flyers for Brian's first show ever.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
At that church, because he lived in Phoenix.
Right.
And I vividly remember that. It's so weird, like the little like
that's crazy
things,
We did go to the Hillsong concert, and it was like a last minute booking for them. Like they were done with their U.S. tour.
Yeah.
They needed a place to play, or they didn't have anything going on that night. Phoenix First Assembly. Yeah, we did everything there.
Yeah.
You won fine arts. Yeah. You won fine arts there, putting a piece of music together the day of or an hour before you played it. And anyone who knew you knew like different little riffs that you were playing. It was like a collage of like all these awesome songs. That was amazing. So, so you go on tour.
Yeah.
We came and saw you for
you guys came out on that first tour. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how long? So take us from like where that tour and just like keep going down the timeline of like how things have like developed. In career wise.
Yeah. When I started, that was 2011, and the next year, because it was just called Brian Head Welch or just Head or whatever the band, and he wanted it to be more of like a band, not just him,
right?
Okay. Because that's how we function, more as a band, not just him doing everything. So the next year we rebranded it as Love and Death.
Yes,
that's how the name came around. And then we did a bunch of touring in 2012, and we were also writing the first record at that time.
That's awesome.
And then first record came out in 2013 called Between Here and Lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And awesome. I love that record.
It's a good record.
Just happy to be a part of it, like
it's awesome.
I know it made a difference in a lot of people's lives and stuff, and even people that are like in the industry now that weren't, they're like, your record was like huge inspiration and everything. So it's been really cool.
It's amazing.
But yeah, so that was 2013, and that year, so that record came out, and that was also the year that Brian went back to Korn.
So, what year was that? Sorry.
2013.
2013 goes back to Korn. Got it.
So it was interesting because we were like, oh, we got this band, we got this record. And then the Lord was like, hey, go back to Korn. So
nice.
So kind of the deal that he made with them was like, okay, I'll come tour with you guys and stuff, but I want to bring my band. And so, because we had the new record, we needed to tour with it and stuff. So, and we were under contract with Tooth and Nail. So we needed to tour it. Mm-hmm. So all of that year, we opened for all the Korn shows.
That's right. So he would come and sing, and you guys would play, and then he'd turn around and go play. So those were some long nights for him.
Yeah. So I remember we did like a short like week run here in the States, and then all of the summer we were over in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah.
And did all the big festivals and like they their own shows and stuff too, and then I think we did one or two tours after that here in the States again.
That's amazing.
And then the last show that we did as a band was on a cruise called Shiprocked.
Yes.
That rock cruise.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah.
Dude, you called me.
Did I?
You called me and you said, do you want to go? And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
That would be amazing. I don't remember what was going on in life at that time.
Yeah. So that was the last time we ever played as like a band. So that was like the beginning of 2014. And so after that, I just started going on the road with Brian and Korn, and I was just guitar teching for him.
Yeah.
And also I was helping with like dressing room stuff and everything too. And the craziest thing was the first time I filled in for Korn was that year. We were, it was a Europe tour, and they were in Russia. Like the end of it was Russia, and Brian got a kidney stone.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the venue, and the tour manager came up to me and he was like, so Brian's in the hospital. And I was like, what? I was like, is he okay? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, like they're checking him out and everything. And I remember like he was just in a ton of pain.
Yeah.
And he went, going to a hospital in Russia too, and he had like a translator with him. Like that's terrifying.
That sounds scary.
So I remember like the first hospital they went to, they did scans and everything. They're like, there's nothing wrong.
Oh no!
Like, what?
Couldn't even find it.
So he went back to the hotel, and then like an hour later, even worse pain. So he got taken back to a different hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, you've got a kidney stone."
Oh
like
wow!
And everything. And so I remember he came to the venue that day, and he was in a ton of pain. I think he was on some pain meds and stuff. And I was sitting in a room with him and the rest of the band. And it was kind of like a scene out of a movie where like, what are we going to do? And everyone slowly just looked over like, and I was like, hey. And they were like, do you think you could do it? I was like, I can try, because I had, I mean, I had listened to the songs every night,
right?
But I didn't like know them, and so I was like, sure. So I had like 5 hours to learn like 14, 15 songs.
I think that thought, not even talking about the talent, the thought of that pressure, that time sensitive pressure that this is going to happen in 5 hours. There's this many songs.
Yeah.
And I'm walking. No,
dude,
no.
It was
I have to be 2 to 3 weeks out in my sermons.
Yeah.
Like if I woke up on a Sunday morning and someone's just like, you got to prepare a sermon right now.
Yeah.
Even though I love Jesus and I love the word, I'd be like,
yeah.
So,
but yeah, so that happened and I somehow pulled it off. And then the rest of that tour, I just ended up filling in like the next 8 or 9 shows because he ended up having to fly back to the States because they had, they had like did the laser thing and everything. But what happened was like from the swelling and stuff, like his kidneys, it was backed up and everything, and it was just like a whole crazy thing. So
that's incredible. So bring us up to speed a little bit, like where you're at today. So you just got off a tour with filling in for lead guitar for Pillar, which is like anybody who listened to any Christian rock in the last 20 something years knows who Pillar is, right?
Yeah.
So you just got off with them, which is phenomenal. Your last Love and Death record is phenomenal, dude. It's so good. It's so good. You all covered that Bieber song, which is just amazing. And I remember that Brian came out 3 years ago, and we were in the green room talking about the video that y'all ended up putting out, which was cool.
That's right.
But that was an amazing record. You're on the last Spoken record. I mean, they're all good, but you guys been releasing some solos. Through Spoken over the last couple of years, and then you cut this last record. Yeah. So I mean, you have your digital footprint is like thumbprint, at least, is in a lot of places right now. That's So like, what are you doing right now? Like, if we wanted, if anybody wanted to come see you or hear you, like, where are we going these days?
Yeah. I know Spoken. We have some stuff coming up in November. Some shows with a band called The Protest.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
they're good. Yeah,
super nice dudes, great band. So show wise, we got some stuff next month, and then we put our record out in March this year, which it feels like way longer.
It does, but you know what though? I think when you first started talking about it, and we started hearing the master tracks and like all the mixing and stuff like that, you had probably started to write that as the full completion of it actually being released. I'm sure that takes. Well more than...
Yeah, because when we recorded it, it was like around the end of 2022.
Yeah.
So it took like over a year to get out. I think that's why it feels like, wait, it's only been out for less than a year.
Less than a year. Oh, wow.
But so doing that's like my full-time thing, Spoken. With Love and Death, we put out a record, Perfectly Preserved.
Yes.
In 2021.
Real good.
Which was a big deal. We hadn't done anything in like 8 years.
Right.
Everyone really wanted something, and...
That is true. I remember reading those comments. They're just like, the time we want our music.
It didn't matter what I was doing. Like, I just post about Spoken. They're like, Love and Death. And I was like, I don't know, But, I mean, unfortunately, like with the pandemic, it gave us time to do that. Because everyone that's a part of that band is in something full-time.
Right.
Like the bass player plays with Breaking Benjamin. Brian's with Korn.
Yeah.
Drummer Isaiah, he plays in a band called Phineas, and then he also does a bunch of fill-in stuff too. So,
that's amazing. So with the last several moments that we have here, talk to me a little bit about how how has the Lord played a role in like your ability to reach people on a world platform that would have never been maybe available if you hadn't started at 15, You know, because you've been in the industry officially full time for 15 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in it for 50% of your life. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Half of your life has been professional. Yeah. Most people are not professional when they're 15 years old or given an opportunity. So I saw the Lord's hand on you. I think we were all terribly nervous to see you go off, but we had always seen that in you in, you know, the years prior, that like you were just more talented than anything that was ever around us naturally. Like we were just joking last night at worship that, you know, you can just pick something up and it's just like, psh, you know, it's just gone.
Yeah.
How talk to me a little bit about ministry, Jesus, the local church, like where you go and stuff like that. Like what do you see and how has that allowed you to minister?
Yeah, I think it's been a huge blessing to be able to, you know, go to different places other than just where I live and like be a light to people. Obviously, I mean, what's cool is like I view it as like ministry. You know what we're doing.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people is like, oh, he's just in a band and they play shows. It's like it's a lot more than that. You know,
because you meet a ton. I mean, you've met thousands of people because of this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even count. You know, it's just like so many and. You know, just the ability to be able to talk with people after a show, like just standing at the merch table and is just amazing. You know, I've had so many great conversations with people. I've had countless people DM me on Instagram or Facebook. Like with that last Love and Death record that came out, I remember specifically someone had messaged me and told me, hey, like, I was going to take my life and I heard one of your songs in the lyrics and I didn't.
That's everything, man.
And I'm like seeking the Lord now. Like I'm praying and reading the Bible. And I was like, what? Like that's what, even if it was just that one guy out of this 15 years, like worth it,
totally
you know,
worth
like,
it.
And it's just so crazy how, you know, you can get caught up in the day to day of it all. But like when you read stuff like that or see kind of like the fruits of your labor, you're like, wow, this is so much bigger than just me. This is so much bigger than just writing songs and playing shows. Like there's so much more to it than that.
That's insane.
And so, yeah, it's been such a blessing to be able to do this, you know, to see God work through me, you know, and from, you know, where I started with you, like I give you and Tristan so much credit because like, who knows where I would have been if I wasn't a part of the youth group. Like those are like crucial years in like someone's life. The
local church is important. It really is. Like I remember my youth days and I remember drumming and it was just an opportunity. I don't know if I was any good at it, but I remember like getting the shot to do it. And I remember like the leader of it and the pastor of it at the time and the friends that I made and from Kansas City, like I will always forever love that church near and dear. I haven't visited in, you know, forever, but like I know my aunt and her husband attend there. Right. And so like there's always roots to bring me back. But you know, it was amazing. You know, I know that like we played and we went places and, you know, we made a lot of friends and then you went off and, you know, so whatever it is. But hey, listen, Mr. Bareis, hey, it is so good to have you. Thank you for taking the time to come and visit. It was an amazing time. Listen, you can get Spoken stuff anywhere, iTunes, Amazon, you name it. You look for it, you'll find them. The new record is phenomenal. You will not want to miss it. And hey, we'll be back in 2 weeks for another leadership on business and all kinds of good stuff, man. So thanks for taking the time.
Journey Church Sunday?
Journey Church, that's right. Hey, JR is going to be at Journey Church at 10:30 Sunday morning. We're going to do an all worship service. You will not want to miss it. Get a chance to say hi to him, meet him, greet him, all good stuff. All right. So thank you again, my friend. And thank you for all tuning in. Be blessed.